And we are live. Guys, I'd like to welcome you to a very, very stormy night edition of the Let's Talk Fishing podcast. My name is Jay Angel. I'm going to be your podcaster for this evening. Tonight's edition of the Let's Talk Fishing podcast is brought to you by Razor Rods at the bottom of the screen, RAZRRODZ.com. Go and check them out, guys. These are the best rods I've ever found. And with me tonight, I can't wait to talk to this guy, man. We have so much in common. He's from the great state of Michigan, but unlike me, he stayed there.
Yes.
What a great place to be. Not to be from, but a great place to be. So how are you doing tonight? I had none other than Shawn Sparr. How you doing?
Doing great.
So Shawn and I were talking before the show. The word of the day is walleyes. It's that simple. Just walleyes. But I've fished in Michigan for walleyes, and growing up, I thought I had to go to Canada. My dad thought we had to go to Canada. There are bigger, and I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say there are more walleyes in Michigan than there are in Canada.
I'd agree.
Man, I can't wait to talk. How have you been catching walleyes lately, Shawn?
3 simple ways. Whipping has been hot. I mean, absolutely on fire. Jigging and casting.
Man, tell me, what is whipping?
Whipping, okay, there's a lot of people used to call it chugging, but chugging is not whipping. Chugging is where you're using the treble hook with the sinker and you're jigging it off bottom, really. That's chugging. Whipping, you're using a short rod up to a 5.5 foot rod, whatever you prefer. And you're using, typically, it depends on where you're at in the river system, in St. Clair River. Currents are different, but typically a 2-ounce sinker, 2.5-ounce sinker is what you're using. You're letting it go back till it hits bottom, and you're getting, after you get back 40, 50 feet, you'll start being able to feel it hit bottom 2 or 3 times before you have to let any line out. And you're just feeding it back until that walleye smacks it, And we're running like an 18-inch drop from a 3-way swivel down to your sinker, and then off of your 3-way swivel, you're running. A lot of guys run 3. John Latham, the guy who custom paints all our pals, the legend himself, he'll run 3 plugs. I use 2. So I use 2 7-foot leads. He uses 3 8-foot leads. So you can use 2 or 3 leads, whatever you prefer. And it's just a riot. You're catching walleye on that small rod, and it's very productive. Just the other night we caught over 100. So
that sounds like we used to do a thing like that called hand lining with offshore rods.
Yeah, so it's just like hand lining where you use these smaller pilots, and stuff like that. Trolling, it's just like hand lining, but you're anchored with a rod instead of using a hand lining.
We have a couple comments from the audience already. Pat Allen said, "Good evening, Jay and Shawn," and Sal Marinello says, "What's up? I'm here." So
all right.
We have some people watching us, which is cool. I love it, guys. Feel free to comment. I love when the audience gets involved. But whipping, so you're anchored. That's the difference between hand lining. Hand lining was just dangerous because you're running your 9.9 or your 10 horse, and both you guys are sitting there going, you're going like this, pulling that thing up with your hand, and I don't know if anybody still does that, but I can see. I always thought, anybody ever lose a hand doing this?
We still do it. We were just talking about doing that. Within the last few days, we've been talking about we need to transition over to doing some hand lining. I got a buddy, Brian, who's out every day, and John, who just commented on here, John Suave, he is phenomenal at hand lining. He's been hand lining the whole year. So Saul commented, he hand lines too. We all love to hand line too.
Man, their Holly Sparr said whipping is a ton of fun. Cajun Rob, he's a podcaster himself. He's on here.
Nice.
Cajun Rob from Co-Angler Corner. Go ahead and check that out, guys. He's a great topic. Enjoying the podcast. So we got a lot of people watching us.
Good.
So whipping. So you gotta find the right place to whip. How do you decide on a place to?
Now, here's the thing. Everybody will see boats lined up and think they have to line up behind that boat to have a good spot to whip. That is totally the opposite of what you need to focus on. When you're going out whipping, you look for structure, and structure can be many things. It could be a dock pull. It could be an inlet in the river. It could be a river that comes out, some rocks on the bottom. anything. It could be a temperature break. Anything that structure is going to hold those bait fish, which is going to hold those walleyes. And typically, we'll start off before it gets dark in 21 to 22 foot. Then we're swinging our boat right into 14 to 15 foot, you know, and we're just following the bait. We're letting those walleyes tell us what to do, you know.
Sure.
And then we're feeding them. We're feeding them good baits.
Yeah. You know, man, guys, we were talking before the show, and he was talking about custom painted baits. I told him I've been having that done since the 90s. You know that Rapala makes fantastic stuff.
Oh yeah.
But they can't possibly make every color that we picky fishermen want.
Right.
They wouldn't. I even talked to the vice president of the company at a sports show one time and told him I want pink. He said we just don't have enough. We just don't have enough. You know, we don't have enough demand for it. And I said, well, then I'm going to paint my own lures. And I found the guy who did it.
Right.
And you know, and those things were expensive, man. You know,
there's a pink
there you
one
go.
for it.
See. That would work. That would work right there. I would have caught fish on the Illinois River doing that. Hello, Cindy. Cindy said hello.
That's the St. Clair River, man. It's just there's so many. Like I said, there's 100 and this is supposed to hold 120, but I've got 140 buried in here with some. But I've got others as well. And everybody says, "Well, why do you need so many?"
Why you need so many?
The thing is,
why don't you have so many?
Yeah, there's nights that I go out there like this right here. It's just a hot color, you know. And if you don't have that some nights, you're going to get out fish 10 to 1. I mean,
yes. And
so that's why I have.
Does color matter?
Yes.
When I used to wacky rig, I would have a little bitty octopus hook, and I would use red octopus hooks.
Yep.
And I would outfish the guys using the traditional, you know, brown brass.
Absolutely.
You know, just that little bitty piece.
It makes it. That's a piece of the puzzle that can make the difference. You know, like this lure right here, he painted, and he decides I'm going to throw a chartreuse with a little purple on the butt of that lure, and I've got this lure without this on it. Nobody else has it. John that paints it has it. But this whole thing's painted this, which is a great color, catches fish. But just having that on the tail end, it's amazing how many more fish that lure catches. Absolutely amazing. And watercolor, you know, and if you're fishing dirty water, you're not going to want to run your typical lure. You're going to want to run something different, you know. In clear water, you're going to want to run something different. I'll look at the moon, you know, if the moon's full, I'm going to run darker colors, you know. It's just there's so many things to walleye. There's actually an art to it, you know.
There is. So when you're whipping, you sit there and move your rod up and down and.
Yeah, we're coming back and forth, getting like 2 or 3 bounces, like I said, and then on the 4th time back, we'll pull it back and let it out 10 feet of line and work that area for 5-10 minutes. If nothing bites, let a little more out. And we just go back until they bite. Now, a lot of people like to use a line counter reel and say, oh, I caught that fish at 105 feet back, so that's where I want to be. Well, if a freighter goes by and your boat shifts, that structure you just caught that fish on is now on the inside or outside anyway. So them line counters don't mean nothing when you're whipping. What means something is when you're hooking into that fish, no matter if it's 200 feet back or 10 feet back. You know, when you get the fish, that's what matters.
So John Latham just said, darn, I wish I knew this was happening.
Yeah, John Latham, that's the custom painter right there. That's the legend himself.
Nice he
makes some beautiful colors. Absolutely beautiful colors.
And Cindy Sparr said, hi, John.
There's my mom. Do you like your pink? So you're gonna like this one. You're gonna like that one.
Look and at then that. That's nice.
He paints it in a chrome too. So that'd be your pinks. There's so many different pinks that he paints. John likes pinks too. Oranges, pinks, you know, typical walleye stuff. Oranges, pinks, greens. You know, here's a good one. That's mixed fruit.
Wow. It reminds me of the old Wonder Bread.
Oh, you want? Here, I'll show you one. The old Wonder Bread, that's funny. I don't even know if I know I have them. I've got a much bigger row. Yeah, the Wonder, here you go. The blue-headed Wonder Bread he paints right there.
Yep. Remember the big old reef runners that would pull your boards back? They were those
the red-headed.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, he does. John is definitely an artist. He knows the man's been doing it for. He's on here so I can joke with him. He's been doing it for 155 years, so he's figured them out. And
155 years. That's cool.
he's a legend himself. Steve Zola that makes pencil plugs. I'm sure you heard that name before.
Yes. Yeah.
He's very, very good friends with a lot of people that know Ziggy. All them guys, they all stayed in touch, So John is very close to holding on to a lot of those Zola pencil plugs. It's hard to get them off, some of them. But he's all them guys that custom make and paint lures. They know each other for a reason, and they've got tricks up their sleeve. Like I said, John's just like family to me. He is family to me, and there's secrets he won't tell me. So I'll figure it out, though. I will figure it out.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, walleye whipping, man. I'm telling you, we call it a meat game. I'd love for you to get down here and go out with me and John Latham one night whipping. You would have the time of your life. I promise you. You just love it, especially if you use the hand line. We love the hand line too, but whipping is just absolutely my favorite technique to catch walleye. Absolutely.
Well, that's the thing. I was hand lining on the Illinois River.
Okay.
And it's a good thing to do during flood years, because you can actually catch fish when nobody else can. But I mean, we were catching 15-inch saugers, and that's just. I only lived a mile and a half away from the boat ramp where the MWC went out of.
Okay.
So I was there 120 times a year.
Right.
Because I guided other waters, so.
Okay.
I had to go to other places to fish, And a 15-inch sauger just did not impress me.
Right. You wanted that 18 to 30-inch walleye.
Yeah. Pat Allen said, "Oh, come on, Shawn, you wouldn't let Jay have a turn."
I took Pat and Denise out. They're good friends of mine. They're super fans of Sparr's Outdoors on YouTube, man. They're great people. I took Pat out sturgeon fishing, Pat and Denise. They caught the personal best sturgeon ever on my boat.
Wow.
They went walleye whipping with me. I think we caught 100 fish that night, probably, or close to it. And they're just joking around. They catch a lot of fish when they go with me.
Of course. So how about? I want to talk about jigging.
Okay.
With your hand-tied jigs.
Yeah. Yep.
You told me that you catch every fish in the Great Lakes with those.
I've caught every fish in the Great Lakes on a banger hand-tied jig. Yes, I have.
Or every species of fish. Of course, you haven't caught every fish, but.
Right, every species of fish. Yeah. If I caught every fish, I'd be one heck of a fisherman.
Yeah. And your hands would be torn up. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, the banger hand-tied jigs, I've caught everything from, like I was telling you earlier, everything from a bluegill, a crappie, all the way up to king salmon. Steelhead, tons. I've caught limit catches of Atlantic salmon, steelhead, coho salmon, walleye limits. He makes them anywhere from a panfish size, like I showed you, all the way up to a 3/8. He can even make ounce jigs. He's doing ounce jigs now too for walleye. So, and I'm telling you, when I was jigging with the razor rods, let's talk about them for a minute.
Yeah.
I got a 5'6" medium heavy with a fast tip. That is the ultimate boat jigging rod.
5'6" medium heavy.
Yes, that's what I have, and it is the ultimate boat rod for jigging walleye because it's short. You can swing the walleye to your chest. You ain't got to worry about it going way up here. When you swing it in the boat, it's coming right to your chest. You catch it, you throw it in the live well, you're back down real quick. Because I like my whole gig is let's get our fish and get out, and also I'll have it tied up where I'll have my 3-way swivel. And I'll run a 2-foot lead to a 3/8 head, and off the other end of the 3-way, I'll run a 3-foot lead to a 1/4 ounce head, and I'll run a thumpum plastic 3-inch on the bottom. I'll run a 1/4 or a 3/8 head banger hand tied jigs on that top one, and they run like this in the water. It looks like a school of bait fish coming, like I was talking about earlier, around that structure, that current break. And while I sat there, I cast in there, and I'm just pulling them out one after another. And that razor rods is so sensitive when you get in that heavy current, which the St. Clair River's got very heavy current, and
very heavy current.
You can feel them breathe on that rod. You can feel them breathe on it.
You can. I was out last night with this thing. This is
Yeah.
a platinum series, and this is just superior, man. This is I was wacky rigging, and what I like to do when I wacky rig, look at those rod guides. I mean,
yeah.
I don't use braid when I wacky rig. I like to use mono because it sinks.
Yep. Mine will sink quick.
Look at that. Brand new. But what reason
Did you just put the tip of that rod in a fan?
Yeah. See?
It held up.
These are tough rods, man. These are
Yeah, it is.
I get distracted when I think about fishing.
Me too. I lose my mind.
What I like about the razor rod is I like to throw it out.
Yep.
When I wacky rig, and and sit there and just not really have a tight line, but then just start shaking that. And,
right.
The line's going like this, so then that wacky rig's down there just quivering.
Oh yeah, it's just down there shivering.
And but I have it. Then I'll reel it up, because that's usually when it goes like this and it stops.
Yes, sir.
That's when the bites happen.
Absolutely. Yep.
And so, I'm just reeling it up. And with a razor rod, you can feel that because it thinks it's dead, so it's not going to try to kill it. It just comes up and grabs it.
Right.
Then, then I can start reeling and set the hook.
Right.
And I don't use a very big hook, just like I'm using bigger hooks down here than I used up in north, but
right.
These fish, they're different.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're just, and also there's just more structure down here. When I fish bass up north, the bass would be on a piece of structure,
Right.
Up here, it's all down here, it's all structure. You have 3 miles of shoreline, and it looks like it all should hold fish, but of course it doesn't.
Right.
So
yep.
I'm still trying to get used to that, and also down up north, I could pull fish, particularly smallmouth bass or walleyes. I could pull them off of the rocks.
Yep.
Pretty easily with lightweight equipment. Down here, I have to pull them out of.
Yeah, a lot.
60 cypress knees all in a 10-foot area.
Right.
You have to be able to just apply steady pressure to that fish and try to get them not just up but then out.
Right. Yeah.
John Latham says he has pet bass in his boat well.
He has some monster bass living in his boat well, and he will not let me target. He will not let me throw a jig down at one.
What is a boat well?
A boat well?
Yeah.
He's got a spot. He's got a spot on the canal. Beautiful setup. It goes right out to the St. Clair River. His boat sets in his boat hoist right there, and it's a boat hoist, but he's got a nice house over it. So
okay,
he lifts his boat up in there, and them bass are sitting in there at the structure, and they've got a big bed made. They've lived there for years. And I look down, and they're master angler largemouth hog, and I'm like, John, just let me drop a jig in and catch one, please. And he goes, stay away from my bass, but I'm gonna go catch one. I'm gonna make a video of it too. Put it on Sparr's Outdoors. Big hog. 2 of them. There's actually like 4 bass, but 2 of them are absolute master anglers.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just gorgeous fish. Just gorgeous fish.
9-pound bass. Wow. Wow. That kind of threw me off.
Yeah,
I thought he was joking when he said I have a pet bass.
No, he's not joking.
That's incredible, man. That is incredible.
Yeah.
So do you ever target smallmouths?
I do. With my son. I'm not much of a I like here's my thing. I guess people call me a fishing nut because I'll go fishing for anything just because I love to fish. My son loves my son and my stepson. They absolutely love bass and pike fishing. So I'll go do a lot of bass and pike fishing with them. like we've been catching a lot of smallmouth right here offshore. Nice ones, 4, 5, 6 pound average. Just nice fish. They fight real hard. They do. They give you a good fight,
They do.
I've heard.
I think we lost him for a second.
There we are. Now we're back.
You're back.
But I heard they're good eating. Yeah, we're back. I heard they're good eating, but I've never ate them.
What did you hear was good eating?
Smallmouth.
Ooh, that's a sin.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Everybody to each their own, but I'm going to let that bass go. I love to catch them with my kids. They're fun to catch. They're a great time. Absolutely. I think they need to hold more bass tournaments in the St. Clair River because there is none. There's none, and it's a great fishery. I mean, people think Lake St. Clair is the best fishery for smallmouth in Michigan. I would put St. Clair River up against Lake St. Clair any day of the week.
I tell you what, I have talked to guys from the Elite Series on my show.
Yep.
And they have launched in Lake Erie and driven their boats all the way up to the St. Clair River.
Yes, absolutely. Because there are some absolute studs.
These are some of the best bass fishermen in the world.
Yep.
And if they're willing to do that, in fact, one guy told me he got his boat swallowed up by Lake Erie on the way back.
Yeah.
And I said, well,
yeah, that was Wes Smith, right?
The only one. Your boat, what?
You were talking about Wes Smith?
No, this is another guy. I'm not going to say his name, but it was not Wes.
My buddy Wes lost his boat last about 2 weeks ago to Lake Erie.
Yeah, I don't want to embarrass anybody, but and I told him your boat is not the only boat that's ever been swallowed up by Lake Erie.
No, not at all. Not at all. There's been four boating accidents in St. Clair River this year. It's crazy. It's been a bad year for it. Terrible year for it.
Well, we've had such bad weather, and
yes,
you just hope people. In fact, the first time I ever went out on Lake Erie, I was with the PWT, and one of their icons got thrown out of his boat by a big wave. And this guy weighed about 300 pounds. This is before I weighed 300 pounds. I was like 25 years old, and they actually had me out there. I jumped over to his boat, and I was helping pulling him back in.
Wow.
They had two guys in their 20s, and another guy grabbing his life jacket. I had one of his arms and took three of us to pull him back into his boat.
Yeah.
I was glad to do it because it was like, May or June. So the water is cold, very cold.
Right.
Be careful out there, guys. The big water is big fish, but also with big fish, with big water, there's a lot of danger, and people just don't understand how quickly boating accidents happen.
Big risk when you go out there in the big water. Absolutely. I mean, that lake can flip. Lake Huron, Lake Michigan, Lake Erie, all of them can flip on you in a matter of minutes.
And they have pulled down boats hundreds of feet long.
Yes,
it has.
Monster boat.
It has. So, what else are you fishing for this time of the year? Are you primarily targeting walleyes?
This is our time of year. We target the heck out of the walleyes, but right now we've been going after Atlantic salmon in the rivers. I do a lot of trolling in Lake Huron for salmon, but when they stack up in the river like they are right now, there's nothing better than going down there with a casting rod, like a razor rod, and using 6 pound test. Or I was using, what was it, 4 pound, John? I was using 4 pound test the other day catching Atlantic salmon. Did I snap off a lot? Yes, I did, but I had fun. 4 pound test. I was using 4 pound test and landed. I landed what, 3?
Yeah.
I landed 3, flipping them, not even netting them, flipping them on shore with 4 pound test really carefully. But I snapped off more than I could. I don't even want to talk about how many times I snapped.
I was up. I don't know why I was surprised by that, because when I used to fish steelhead back in the 90s, the early 90s up in Oscoda, I would use 4 pound test in a noodle rod, and the rods they have today these razor rods are so superior to the noodle rods. I had an Eagle Claw noodle rod that, I mean, I think about that rod now. I was impressed with it back then. Now I think that's a piece of garbage.
Right. It definitely, I don't like to talk bad about any rod, but I got one still, and I do catch some fish on that Eagle Claw, but you
So
don't
was it
feel.
one of the yellow ones?
Yeah, it's the old yellow one. Old yellow got the tape measure on the side of it and everything, but it's cork handle, you know. But you don't have the sensitivity as you do in these rods, you know, like that razor rods. You know, because you use them all the time. You breathe on it, you feel it.
Yeah, this is something that I use down here. Oh, Jesus Christ, again.
Oh, yeah, nice.
This is another platinum. You know,
Yep.
I do a lot of. John Latham just asked me if I ever fished Van Etten Lake in Escota. John, I lived on Wordsmith Air Force Base for 3 years. I was on Van Etten Creek almost every day, and whenever I would lie, cheat, and steal to get people to take me out there in their boats. And I caught the biggest walleye of my life on Van Etten Lake. I was 23 years old. As you can see, I'm a whole lot older than that now. Quit testing. Rob's Cajun Rob's one of my best friends. He said, "Quit testing your rod, Jay." But
putting that rod to the test in the fan. That's the fan test. You know, that's a good test to put it against.
I'm not worried about razor rods, man. These things are tough.
They are tough.
This thing was made to be casting, you know, heavy jigs up in heavy cover.
Yeah.
And when you set the fish, we have some really big bass in Louisiana. I mean, like this year, I think there's been 3 13 pounds caught already.
Wow, man.
You know, this thing can't take, you know, being slapped by a little fan.
I don't want to do that with my razor rod, but I'm not going to put it in the fan.
Well, it's not going to happen again. I just got excited. John said his mom and dad lived straight across from the base. Yeah, you know, yeah, I never stopped thinking about Van Etten Lake, John. In the Van Etten Creek. I mean, I caught some of the biggest smallmouth bass I ever caught. I was in the Air Force. I was an E4, you know, senior airman. I didn't have money to buy scales and tape measures like I have today. I would go down there with one rod and a vest that had like 6 pockets in it with a bunch of jigs thrown in there and some, you know, water gremlin split shots and those stupid hook things that you bought at Kmart that had a bunch of hooks and that you had to like pull off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Snug hooks.
Yeah.
And I had to find my own worms, you know. I couldn't afford anything. Of course, I never realized that if I didn't drink 2 cases of beer a week, I probably could go fishing more. But
right now, John Latham, he's been all over the place. He knows, like I said, he knows a lot of the legends of the whole area, let alone just Michigan, and that's why he was asking you those questions, because he's fished a lot of the spots here in Michigan you probably fished that I've never got to see. So that's some of the things I want to do with Mr. Latham himself. You know, I want to go fishing and enjoy these things with John, because, like I said, we're really close, and it'd just be a fun time for me. I've never really. I don't have to. I don't have to leave to go far. I can go to Lake Huron and troll salmon. I can't get my big kings. They're starting to make a comeback, but I can troll here, get salmon. I can catch my walleyes here all year long. I can ice fish on Lake St. Clair. Go over to Lake Michigan and go get some king salmon over there and call it good. But I'm missing out on a lot of good fishing in other spots and big inland lakes and all the resources Michigan has to offer. And I'm going to start exploring more. You know, my channel, Sparr's Outdoors on YouTube, is based in Michigan. It's not based right here in St. Clair County. So I got to keep that in mind and start showing some other stuff.
But man, I mean, the place that you live, I hear you, man.
It's hard to leave.
Lake St. Clair right there.
Yeah.
The St. Clair River right there. I mean, you've got it covered. You were talking about catching crappies in Lake St. Clair, which is something I'm like, that's something different. That's a story. That is a story, you know. There are normal things like Lake St. Clair smallmouth bass that the world knows about. Then there are those hidden things like St. Clair crappies. Now that's a story that I want to break.
Yeah.
As an outdoor communicator, which is what I call myself, that's what I want to bring to the world.
Absolutely. I've got a video on my YouTube channel called The Art of Crappie Fishing. That's a lot of the strategy I use on Lake St. Clair. And you'll hear a lot of guys say, you know, I catch a lot of crappies. I put a lot of crappies on topside, and I don't post a lot about it because they're almost sacred, you know.
Yeah,
you
they're a
know,
special fish.
so I don't. I'll show 5-10 pictures a year. In reality, my whole family's limited out 20 times. But
Yeah.
you know, you got to keep that kind of stuff secret. But you can give away a lot of good tips and information without spot blasting, and that's my whole goal.
That's what I tell people. We can talk in generalities. I don't want to give up your secret spot.
Yeah.
St. Clair, what is that? 200,000 acres?
Yeah, it's huge. Absolutely huge.
You know, actually, I was doing some live scoping with a friend for crappies last night.
Was you?
And people say, "Oh, live scoping, that's just too easy." No.
Don't make it any less hard.
You can see them, and I think that makes it more frustrating. In fact, I was sitting here live scoping, and you know the fish weren't reacting, so I threw on a rattle trap and started catching bass. You know,
right?
He said, "What's wrong?" I said, "I'm bored, dude. I get bored very easily, and I'm sitting there watching those crappies. They are not reacting."
Right.
You know, yeah, live scoping is cheating.
It ain't. Sometimes it'll frustrate you, like you said. I pay more attention. I pay way more attention on the fish graph if I'm going along real slow. Side scan. I just got a graph with side scan. That tells me a lot. I'm seeing structure on the outside, and if I see a school of bait fish and I see some suspended fish on that side scan with shadows behind them, I know I just found me a school of crappie. Now it's what am I going to use to target these crappie? Am I going to use a soft plastic? Am I going to use a little tiny crankbait? Am I going to, you know, what am I going to do? And I'm going to do everything until I figure out what's going to work. The slow drop is typically what you want to do all year long. They like it when it's falling, you know, so it's crappie fishing is a whole nother ballpark, man. And it's just something I love. And I always have loved it as a kid. I've always been a fishing addict, period. But there's certain walleyes, crappies, bluegill, and salmon I've always been fascinated with. So that's what I'm really good at, you know. So
you know, when I lived up in Alaska, it was so much fun. I found a place that I can go and cast spoons for king salmon.
Yep.
And, you know, and just bringing that spoon on, all of a sudden the spoon is running upstream and went.
Yeah.
It's so fast and just.
If you're casting, your line's going that way, you better reel quick.
Yeah, I haven't had a bite in a long time, and just what the heck? Or when they take it and they run the other way and they about take the rod right out of your hand.
You better hold on and have the drag set.
John Latham just said John fishes a lot with Gordon at Walmart.
He's always messing with me. He is always messing with me.
Gordon at Walmart.
Getting those fish specials.
That I know salmon are, well, you know, I spent a lot of time in South Bend, Indiana when I was a kid. When my family was living there, and we would go up to Niles and go up the west side of Michigan and fish salmon. That's where actually I fell in love with them. Then, you know, my dad did not like to fish during the wintertime, but I found actually I wasn't even old enough to drive yet, but I joined the Michigan Steelheaders, and mom would drive me to their meetings. It's only about 15 miles away. And they thought it was really cool that a little 14-year-old kid came walking into their meeting. And they're like, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? Well, this was back in the 80s, you know.
You're fascinated with fishing.
And I said, well, I want to join. Okay.
Yeah.
They would come and pick me up and take me to Berrien Springs, you know. But they'd be there at 3:00 in the morning at my house. Right.
That's cool, though. That is awesome. You know, at 14 years old, you're hanging out with a steelheader.
Yeah.
So
and cool. I had my little vest with the logo on it. Mom sewed it on for me.
Yeah. That is awesome, man.
Oh, those guys were thrilled to have a kid who came by himself.
Right. That
His
is something, though.
Dad was like, I'm not going to go there and stand in the water in the middle of winter. Why not?
Right.
Why not?
Right. Why? Let's go catch some steelhead. Let's go.
Oh, so you're going to sit at home and watch TV. I get it.
Yeah. But he's going to eat your fish when you bring them home, though.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. He loved it when I brought walleyes home, too,
Oh, yeah. You got to come. You got to come, man. You got to come and do this whipping with us. Me and John Latham will take you out, man. I'm telling you. We'll clean the fish for you and everything. You got to clean. You'll have a time of your life.
I'd also like to do some of that jigging, too, with your...
Oh, yeah. That's fun, too. We can do that all in one day.
Man, that'd be so much fun. I'd love that.
You would love it. I promise you.
Well, it's about 35 after the hour. Would you like to do any shout-outs?
Yeah, I'd like to shout out to everybody that's watching. Thanks for watching. Make sure you share. Make sure you follow Let's Talk Fishing here with Jay Angel. Follow his page. It's awesome. And check out Razor Rods if you guys already haven't. You guys all know the sponsors word behind me has all my sponsors. Huge shout out to John Latham Customs for his customer pilots here. Banger hand type jigs just listed there. Huge shout out to them. Jay's Marine Hardware. They carry everything that you can imagine. They carry the Latham Customs. They carry the Thumping Plastics. They carry everything. They're going to be carrying Hunt Chef seasoning. So it all works out. They have all your boating and your fishing needs right there. And the best shout out I could possibly do is all the people that follow me and support my channel. And I want them to come follow your page too, man, because your podcasts are awesome. I watch a lot of them. You'll see me comment on some of them sometimes. Even if I disagree with some of the guys that's talking, some of the guys on there are I love some of these guys that talk, man. They're very knowledgeable fishermen. And it's always good to learn. If you're not learning, you're not fishing. That's the way I look at it. So
you're definitely not getting better at it. Yeah.
If you're not learning, you're stuck. You're stuck right there. But I'm dropping stuff now. But yeah, so that's just huge shout out to all my sponsors, all my fans, and especially you, for reaching out. That's our second podcast. We'll do another one sometime.
Oh, sure.
Absolutely.
Just stay in touch with me. Let me know what you're doing.
Absolutely. And if you ever want to come down and do some walleye fishing, you let us know and we'll get you on some fish.
I would love to do that. I'd love to go back up there, catch some walleyes. Actually, man, those crappies sound good too.
Yeah, let's go catch some crappies while we're at it.
It all sounds good. Well, I'd like to thank everybody for tuning into Let's Talk Fishing Podcast. Again, my name is Jay Angel. I'm your host and with Shawn Sparr, fisherman extraordinaire from the great state of Michigan. And I'll tell you what, guys, I miss Michigan. I really do. So many good memories from that place. So many good memories.
Yeah,
well,
absolutely.
Hey, man,
Michigan's beautiful.
Thank you. And John Latham just said a huge shout out to Holly for putting up with Shawn.
Oh, geez.
All right. Well, with that, guys, I'm going to end the podcast. And thank you very much for tuning in. And guys, you know what? It's Wednesday night. Make your plans. Get out there and fish this weekend. Because remember, you only get to do this once.
Absolutely.
Okay, stick around for 2 minutes.
Okay, sounds good.